Please welcome President and CEO of the Boca Raton, Daniel Hostettler, in discussion with Skift President Carolyn Kremins.
Hi, Daniel.
Carolyn.
Here we are again. It's all of us again. So Daniel, you joined the Boca Raton Hotel. It's a 100-year-old iconic property. I'm sure so many of you know this hotel. It's kind of spectacular. Michael Dell invested $350 million for a floor-to-ceiling renovation.
Yes.
Okay, so this is 3 years ago. And I mean, you were kind of an interesting choice for them to pick you.
I was.
To run it. I mean, you were the president of Relais and Chateau and the Ocean House, these lovely upscale boutique hotels, but they were small.
Very small.
And now you have this 1,000-room property, right?
Yes.
And you're the guy. But before we get into that, when we were talking last week, you were mentioning that Boca Raton is now like the it place, like even more so than Miami, where I live. So I want to know why.
Well, I think that we are the kinder, gentler Miami. I think that we're no longer Jerry Seinfeld's God's Waiting Room, your grandparents' Boca Raton. I think that with COVID and the influx of East Coasters that were moving down, looking to work and live and visit Southern Florida, our beaches are a little less crowded. We're not quite as hip and cool as Miami, but we are a little less stuffy than Palm Beach, so we're sort of right in the middle.
Right, you actually are like literally right in the middle,
we are,
right?
we
are. Luxury hospitality, luxury hotels rather, in Southern Florida are like very, very, they're everywhere you look. There's a Amman, a Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, right? Now, the Boca Raton used to be a Waldorf Astoria.
Correct.
You came in.
Yes.
You said, nuh-uh.
We deflagged.
You deflagged.
Yes.
Okay, and so now it's independent again.
Correct.
Right. Tell me, it's your first day on the job, you take out your laptop. What's your strategy there?
Well, my theory, coming from small, ultra-luxury properties and knowing that guests that we wanted to go after, was that no one at that level was going to a 1,000-room hotel. It's just not on the radar when you think about luxury. And so under Waldorf Astoria, the property was very much a convention hotel, about 75% of the business. And so the property really wasn't even on the luxury radar. And it was a conscious decision to sort of return it to the iconic status of the Broadmoors, the Sea Islands, the Breakers of the world in time for our 100th anniversary in 2026. And then I looked at that property and said, how do we eat an elephant a bite at a time? Let's take the 5 different buildings and put 5 different teams and have sort of you choose your lodging product first. So we essentially have 5 sub-brands, and then the guests have all of the resort amenities available to them.
So what are they? Like, what are the 5 brands?
So the Tower, which is the tallest building in Palm Beach County, 27 floors. So that we went with Rockwell and completely renovated it to a mid-century modern sort of Mad Men vibe, very family-oriented, because we had removed the 4-acre convention center to build a 4-acre water park, essentially, which we call the Harborside Pool Club, that adjoins that building. So that was the ultra luxury option for the consumer with families. And then we took the Yacht Club, which was 110 rooms, all suites, all on the water with outdoor terraces looking at the intercoastal waterway. And we said, let's make that adults only. Let's build a little restaurant on the top floor that's a multi-course tasting menu.
Is that a first, to be adults only for that property?
For that property, yes, absolutely. And we thought it's only 10% of the inventory. We can fill that with adults. And interestingly now, multi-generational, where the grandparents stay in the Yacht Club and the children and grandchildren stay in the Tower, we've seen. Yeah. And then we have the Cloister, which is the historic 1926 property, which we really kept as sort of the historic lead-in rate, very much attached to the conference center, And then the bungalows, which is our 58 key 2-bedroom villas on the golf course, which really we rebranded almost with an Airbnb in mind as a place where if you wanted to come to Florida for a week to a couple of months, that would be your product. You'd have the run of the property, but you'd have your own kitchen and laundry facilities, et cetera, and be right on the golf course. And then our current phase, which is a $120 million renovation of our beach club, which was originally built in the 60s and is across the Intercoastal Waterway on its own 10-acre plot of land with a half mile of private beach. We are really reinventing with what I would call a St. Bart's vibe. It's designed for a younger, hipper market, has a Forbes 5-star rating before we closed it at the beginning of the year for renovation. And when we come out of that, we want to keep that level of service, but with a fun, whimsical, we don't take ourselves too seriously vibe. So we have, for instance, a Vez bar, very popular from Palm Royale, that will drive around the adult pool and give out boozy popsicles. So we want that luxury experience, but in a vibe that is comfortable and fun for a younger crowd. So we really have every segment of the market for luxury, and then you have the run of 14 restaurants, 50,000 square feet spa, 18-hole golf course, tennis, pickleballs, marina, water sports, once you have chosen sort of the experience that you want to stay in.
So kind of like a Miami vibe or something.
Yes, exactly. That one has a bit of a Miami vibe, yes.
All right, so I just want to talk about luxury. There are so many brands here today that are in the luxury space, and you know a lot about that. Your whole background, your career you spent in luxury. So I think that's an interesting topic because it's always evolving. So where do you see luxury today and tomorrow, and did you bring your philosophy of what that is into the Boca Raton?
I think it's much, much less today, the thread count on the sheets and the amenities in the room. Today,
those are like table stakes,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Today it's about curated luxury, and while I think there's a place for the branded luxury properties, I would certainly, if I was going to a city, I would stay with one of the brands if I didn't know that city. But I think specifically for resorts, you are looking for something that is authentic with a sense of place where you can have that team that is curating your experience, which is why we've divided our properties up into smaller 100, 200 room hotels. And I think that you see that in retail luxury as well, that sort of soft branded luxury, not quite as flashy.
Right.
So we're right on trend, I think.
So I want to just pick up something you said before, because I used to go to the Boca Raton Hotel years ago because I was in the beauty business, and there was like always this big beauty conference, and you would go there because it was a conference and events
Absolutely.
hotel, right? Like that's
Yep.
what it was known for.
Yes.
So are you like fully away from that business now, or?
I think, under Waldorf Astoria, 75% of it was convention business. All of us that had been to the Boca Raton were attending a conference of
Right.
some kind. Leisure was sort of something you put in between the conventions. Our model is really a 50-50 model between conference business, which would be 100-room groups, 150, 200-room groups, not 1,000-room groups taking over the entire property, and then the leisure traveler. And I think that forces us to elevate the brand everywhere, right? The restaurants were not as important before when most of your audience was eating in banqueting facilities, which did a phenomenal job, and the restaurants were maybe not quite as important to the guest because they were attending banquet functions. Now they're critically important, so are all of the additional amenities.
Right, got it. I know you're a big fan of Danny Meyer. I read
I am.
that. I'm a huge fan of Danny Meyer as well. But you said you adapted a principle, and the principle is the idea of it is that you can have styles of service that vary across organizations, but you never want different levels of service.
Right.
So tell me about how you use this principle and how it shows up at the Boca Raton.
Well, I think by that he means that, you can dine at a Shake Shack or you can dine at one of his white tablecloth restaurants, and that level of service, the experience is different, but that level of service is going to be the same in the way he trains his staff. And I would say for us, it's the same. You can stay at the 4-star Cloister or the 5-star Beach Club, and the experience is going to be slightly different, but we expect that the brand standards be Forbes 5 stars. We really, as an independent property, without brand SOPs that you really look to Forbes, the industry leader for luxury, and we say that's the minimal expectation in every one of the brands, and then the experiences are simply curated to fit that brand, because the family and children's programming at the Tower is a totally different experience than the adults-only butler level of service for a husband and wife staying together in the yacht club where there's no children.
Right. So I just want to bring up, because I wouldn't say you're obsessed with, but it seems like you care very much about the 5-star rating.
I do.
And I also read that you said like you want
25 by 25. So we want to be the first resort in the United States to have 5 independent 5-star hotels from Forbes. So we were very successful in getting 10 out of the gate in our first year. So we opened in December of 21, and in 22 we got 5 for the beach club and 5 for the spa. And now we would like to get 5 for each of the other 3 lodging products by our 100th anniversary in 2026. It really works as a rallying cry as well for the team. Everyone's moving in the same direction when they all know that that's the goal, that's the expectation. It always helps to have a direction to steer the ship in.
Yeah, nothing like a high bar, right?
Absolutely.
So just tell me something. Is the hotel no longer pink?
The hotel is no longer pink. That was a controversial decision, but mid-renovation, we opened it December of 21. We decided that the best way to show the world that we had done several $100 million in renovation was to put a fresh coat of paint on the outside and change the color for the last 50 years. But that was done by a previous owner, and we actually worked with a historic society to go back to the original Meisner color of the main buildings, which was cream.
Well, that's very bold.
It was bold.
Very bold. Anyway, we wish you all the best with the future of the Boca Raton. I hope to see it someday soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.